cloud or on the computer? Obviously the computer.
Damn, my lady just told me it was being recorded. Got it.
Yeah, that's you
Didn't
ever
like
been
that.
in a meeting where they did that before?
Uh-uh.
Oh, well. Clearly not in as many big meetings as me that need to be recorded.
That's a fact. I'm in almost no Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
I don't even
I
have
do
the
it.
Zoom app. I have to join through browser.
Gotcha. I always feel stupid when you have to do this because I've done it like 3 times because I've tried to start these like a bunch, but you got to be like, "Hey, welcome to Taylor's Advocate." So, yeah,
Yeah, I know.
go. Yep. Well, all right. Welcome to Taylor's Advocate. This is our first try at this. We're going to record 2 tonight. Basically, the premise of this is I'm going to present Taylor with a list and or some kind of other method, and Taylor's basically just going to pick it apart for 30 minutes. So the first little bit here is mostly NBA, what we're going to talk about, I think, probably, and then
Probably.
maybe some other things too. But so yeah, the first thing we're going to tackle is GM survey. So yeah, I sent it to you earlier today. Did you see anything cool that pokes your eye right off the bat? I have it pulled up here, but
I saw that the list, it was 50 questions, and I scrolled through like the first six, and I'm like, these are all great. That's why I asked. I was like, are we doing all these? Because these are all awesome. I
yeah,
don't
I
know
know.
that
Well,
I have a preference.
yeah, there's some towards the end where I was like, well, that'd be nice to get to. Um,
I
so
should
let's
have
just
starred a
go.
couple.
Yeah, so let's just get right into it. Which team will win the 2024 NBA Finals? If you had to guess before, who would you have thought that the GMs would have said?
Yeah, if I'm guessing what I think the GMs are gonna say, because this isn't like the media, the clickbait media, say something crazy so everybody clicks on your stuff. Um, I think that the people smarter than me think that the Suns are gonna play better than I think they're gonna play.
Yeah,
Um, just because of the sheer talent, I would have guessed that all the GMs would say, I think the Suns are going to win. Now, if this is post Lillard trade, which it looks like it is, there's a chance that somebody thought they might win it. But my gut would tell me the Suns.
yeah. So the if I had to guess before, I would have thought that everybody would have picked the Nuggets, which they're tied for first with the Celtics, which is about 10 of the GMs voted for each of them. So they're at
Yeah.
33%. And then the Bucks right after that. And then it looks like probably 2 voted for the Suns and
Right.
then 1 for the Clippers. So,
So
which,
maybe I'm smart if all the smart people also think the Suns aren't going to win it. But I don't see them having what you need in the playoffs to get it done. I think they're going to be awesome in the regular season. I think their first five is going to be a nightmare to deal with, but we've seen time and time again, like if you don't have some veteran depth on your bench, you just can't win in the playoffs.
it, yeah, and yeah, I don't know. So, um, yeah, I was
Tell
listening to
me.
people.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was listening to people talk about the Suns today, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, those first 3, I mean, they're gonna score, like, and it's like
So much.
they're gonna roll the ball out and win 50 games, but to win the whole thing, like, I think, like, they basically revamped their entire roster. It's like, okay, Devin Booker's back, but
He's the
and
only
K,
one from the finals roster from
yeah, and KD's
2021.
back, but he played 8 regular season games last year. Everybody else is new, basically. So,
Yeah. Well, the KD thing's interesting because unfortunately, really since the injury in Golden State, he can't seem to stay healthy for a long period of time, whether it's a little nagging injury or something really big. So there's that question mark. I guess he's older, right? What's he, 36?
yeah,
Is
something
he
like
older
that.
than Steph? So like
Yeah.
he's older. And then the other question mark is the defense thing. Like, not to be lame, nobody cares about defense, but like, has Bradley Beal ever gotten a stop?
Well,
Ever?
I don't know how many years ago that was that the Wizards just like literally like they rolled the ball out and we're just like, let's try and beat people 130 to
Right.
125 or something.
And like you said, Book, KD, and Beal, once they figure out how those pieces fit together, they're gonna score. But I don't see them like who's their guy that's gonna like go guard the best player? Is it somebody who I'm not naming? Is Nurkic gonna be the big? There's another question mark. Is Nurkic there now after the 3 team
Hmm.
trade?
Yeah,
He never has he can't stay healthy either. So now it's
yeah.
going to be some backup big. If Jock Londale is there, I like him. I don't know if he's a starter, quote unquote, but he does a lot of stuff. I just don't know who's going to get a stop on the perimeter for them. Is the
Yeah,
long-winded thing I'm saying. Um,
yeah. So who
I
do you go ahead?
What your thoughts are on the Celtics, because they're always, for the last 4 years, they've been picked as a lot of people think they're going to win it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm like, I don't know if they can win it or not, but like they got most of the same people coming back. You have the two Jays, you're obviously gonna be pretty good. Um, so and you're adding good pieces to it. So I would think I would have them at the top with Milwaukee in the East. So
What's been the reason they can't get over the hump, though? Like, I know they made the finals and you lose to, Steph Curry kind of plays out of his mind or whatever, and that's a team that's been there and you hadn't. But like the last handful of years, I know they've had a ton of success to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Why can't they win when they get there?
yeah, they've been battling with the Heat, so they're 1 for 3 there. I think it's maybe just out coaching probably this last year and
Maybe
not enough
I guess
firepower the year before.
Yeah, my question is, did the changes that they make, are they like, oh, this is it then? Now they're over the hump? Because I'm not as fun probably when it comes to talking about how teams are going to win, in that, like, somebody like Marcus Smart, the stuff that he does that isn't stat sheet stuff, I think helped that young team. Now they got Drew Holiday there now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is an upgrade, but for that window of time where before the Dame thing, the Drew Holiday trade, where they lost Marcus Smart and didn't replace him, I was like, these guys are. I know Kristaps Porzingis is awesome, but they're worse, I think, not having a point guard.
Well, playing with fire for sure, and like I don't know who the backup point guard even be, Peyton Pritchard or somebody, or Derek White's still there, so I mean that helps.
Derek White would have been there, but yeah, Peyton Pritchard, no knock on him. I like, he gets buckets, but like he got worked out of the rotation last year.
Yeah.
And he played the year they were in the finals. So like he's clearly shaky. So I kind of forgot Drew was there. That may have changed my answer at the very beginning, just because that's so new. That's big because he's a way upgrade from Marcus Smart in my opinion, even though I really like Marcus.
Yeah. So who do you think is gonna, if you had to pick right now today, who do you think is gonna win the finals?
It's a good question. It's hard to. I am a big Steph Curry fan, so it's hard to say that if Steph Curry's on the team, they don't have a chance to win it. If I had to put like my mortgage on it, I like. I think that they obviously won it 2 years ago. Obviously, Damian Lillard's unbelievable. I hope Giannis is healthy. If Giannis is healthy and Chris Middleton is healthy, I think that team's going to be a nightmare through 7 games with what Dame can do to complement Giannis.
Yeah, I saw Giannis said he's never been this open before because he's just people that are able to take that away on the. It's going to be something else. So they got a new coach,
because Dame isn't a shooter. So. The new coach will matter. Dame isn't a shooter though. Dame is a flamethrower. That dude's open the second he touches half court. So like now Giannis is a nightmare, even a bigger nightmare to deal with. Beating them 4 out of 7 times seems impossible. That seems like an impossible task if everybody's healthy.
Yeah.
So that would be my pick.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'd still roll with the Nuggets, just because they were just so dominant down the stretch. I was looking up stuff today from them, and it's like they won 9 out of their last 10, and like the one they lost to the Heat was like a 3-point game.
Yeah,
and
they were.
And everybody was throwing like all these. So you're throwing Gobert and Ayton and Anthony Davis and Bam, who were like good defensive bigs, and then he's having these crazy stat lines. I just don't even know.
Well, he's just uncontainable, obviously. Here's my thing on the Nuggets, though, and this is kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, I like dudes that are kind of boring, and I think they're the ones that make a difference, like what the Suns don't have. Like, Bruce Brown is no longer in Denver. I think that matters a lot. And they didn't replace him. Like, they don't have another version of him. Here's another flaming hot take. I talked with Steven about this the other day. I think that the postseason like competitive stamina for Nikola Jokic after doing it for a year is going to be in question. I low-key think he hated playing basketball for that long. And I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to go out and like not care, but I do think there's a part of him that's like, this kind of sucked playing until the halfway through June. Like, I just want to go home. I don't think he likes hoops that much. Like he says, like, does anyone really like their job? This is just what I do for a living. I don't
Yeah, that's
know.
pretty wild.
That's an immeasurable, but the Bruce Brown thing on top of Nikola Jokic loving his horses, I don't know on them.
The only thing I can think of is maybe Christian Brown takes like a big
He's good.
leap.
He's
So
he's definitely can do some of the same stuff physically that Bruce Brown can do, and like from a 2K slider standpoint, I think it's the veteran stuff that obviously you can't. You just got to go through it. But
yeah,
obviously, yeah, I don't want to see them either. There's a lot of teams that you're not going to want to see in a playoff series.
yeah. So that'd be my pick. So and you pick the Bucks. So I feel like we've been for the past like 5 years. It's been like our Jokic and Giannis going to meet in the finals and play, and
That'd
they
be
just
sweet.
haven't. So
I'd
I
love.
feel like
That's remember how we didn't get Kobe and Bron ever
yeah, that
against
feels
each
like
other.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
all
Do
right,
you
let's go
want
to
to try to
the
rank like the top 4 Western Conference finishers and the top 4 Eastern Conference finishers, or do you want to jump to the MVP?
let's go. I think let's just talk about the rankings. I think it's Miami at 6 is kind of wild because they just made. I mean, they were the 8th seed, so it's kind but it's kind of wild to have them that low. So it's Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Philadelphia, New York,
What's
Miami, and Atlanta.
it? Is it just because New York is New York that they get props every? Like they didn't do anything to get better this offseason. Why are they
Yeah,
5?
I mean they did go to the second round,
Yeah,
so I think that's part of it. Um,
they're just not a good playoff team. They'd be a great playoff team if it was 2006,
yeah,
but it's not. Like they just don't have the juice on offense. Julius Randle, I think, sort of picks and chooses when he wants to be competitive in the regular season, and I think it shows
Mhm.
in the postseason. He doesn't have the stamina to handle the doubles and everything. He's not used to it. I don't like that at all. I like Boston at 1, and I like Milwaukee at 2. Those are interchangeable in my opinion. Cleveland at 3 is a bit questionable, unless I mean, I guess they could potentially be kind of like how the Jazz used to be, where they just win a bunch of regular season games and get a high seed. But I don't know that I like them in a series more than I like most of the other teams. Really, what do you think on
Yeah.
that?
I don't know. I feel like I didn't watch a lot of Cleveland basketball last year, but I feel like maybe year one they're just trying to get things together, and you know, I don't know. I feel like
They
I
got
like
young
them at
guys.
3, but yeah. So those Cleveland and New York teams, I don't really feel like have some oomph to them. I don't feel like either team outside of Boston, Milwaukee, or Miami can make the finals. So I think that's what we're looking
I
at there.
agree. I
What do
agree.
you think?
Philadelphia, I
Philadelphia,
don't
we'll talk
believe
about
in,
later
unfortunately.
probably because yeah,
Yeah.
they talked about them being the hardest to predict, and it's like, well, who knows? I mean, I think Tyrese Maxey will be good this year, but who knows what James Harden's even doing? I think he's coming to practice or playing in a preseason game
Yeah,
later in the week.
yeah, I don't know, man. Um, if you do you want to do the West real quick? What do you like about the West?
Um, I like what the Lakers did in the offseason. They have them at 3, so it's Denver, Phoenix, the Lakers, Golden State, the Clippers, Memphis, and then the bottoms, who knows? Pelicans, Kings,
S-
Mavericks, and Oklahoma City.
Sacramento all the way down at 7 after being 2 last year, right? Or were they 1
Yeah,
last year? They were 2.
they
They were 2.
were. What were they?
They
They
were
were 3.
they were 3 because the Warriors were the 6 and they played each other. But either
Yeah,
way, they fell a little bit at the end. It's crazy. So I don't like Memphis at 6 at all. I don't. I'm not worried about Memphis in the slightest if I'm a Western Conference team this year with the
well, I mean,
disjointed.
and John Morant's out for a big portion of the year as well.
Yeah, like a fourth, more than a fourth of the season. You, Derrick Rose. Everybody loves Derrick Rose, but like, is he a difference maker at this point? I don't think so. Maybe on a given night, like over a consistent stretch of time, I don't think so. Marcus Smart, we've seen his shortcomings with his time in Boston. John Morant, I think there's locker room headaches there at this point. Where like I think the guys are kind of over it. You're supposed to be our
Yeah,
superstar, and you can't stay out of trouble. I think the first incident would have been fine, but following it up like 3 weeks later with a second one is probably where
yeah.
And then the Triple J thing, I can't figure out. Like he's supposed to be like a deep poi, but also he's constantly fouled out and he's always in foul trouble. But he never actually thinks he fouls anything. I don't know what to think on him either. I don't like that at all. I like Denver at 1. I think Phoenix is going to win a lot of regular season games for the reasons we talked about earlier. I agree
Yeah.
with you on the Lakers thing. Adding Gabe Vincent was huge. LeBron plays really well with point guards like that.
Yeah.
So that's cool. They've added a lot of really like interesting pieces, but I can see how they might fit. And then I think it is just a hodgepodge after that. Golden State could be 4. Golden State could be 7. Sacramento
Yeah.
could be 4.
I feel
New
like I
Orleans
agree
is
with
tough.
I think the top 5 is how I probably would have picked them. And then Memphis, they won 50 games last year, but who knows what they're going to look like. So like you kind of have to put them in that spot. I would have had Sacramento probably above Memphis, I guess. And then
I don't like
who
New
knows?
Orleans up that high either
Early guys always hurt.
because of just we haven't seen them do anything together yet. They seem like on paper they should be scary.
Yeah.
And the other team on here, Matt, is the Thunder, who are just freaking awesome. I know that they didn't win a ton of games, but like on any given night, that team could beat you by 30. You get boat raced by that team on any given night. They could win a lot of regular season games.
I think they'll have a big jump just because everybody's coming back and everybody's
And they're a
young.
year older. Yeah.
Yeah. So
They scare me. I think that they could be easily like in that 6 slot, along
yeah.
with like a Sacramento. And really the Clippers, unfortunately, with Paul George and Kawhi, like if they play the whole time, they could easily be a 4 or a 5, but they could
Yeah.
also easily be a 7 or an 8. So anyway,
And then who knows about Dallas? So
yeah, I'm not sold on that whole experiment.
for the MVP, it's I think I would pick Jokic. I don't think I'd pick Giannis because Giannis is second
He'll
on
get
this list, but I feel like he's gonna
yeah. You
lose a
can't get
lot of
it
his
when you're
stats.
yeah. Well, you can't get it when you have a teammate that's a top 10 guy or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
was Steph was never in consideration or KD the years that they played together, right?
Yeah, not really.
So you can't you almost have to be in a not that Jamal Murray's a slouch. I think he's honestly Jamal Murray being is having a full season or most of a full season last year and playing so well will hurt Nicola's MVP candidacy because he's such a stud.
This is
Um,
weird that so it's Jokic and then Giannis and then Jason Tatum and Doncic. So I'm like, okay, all those make sense. And then Anthony Davis is on this list, like he got a vote.
Never. That'll never
I don't
happen.
I don't think, yeah. And then Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and Shea. I don't think Joel Embiid will repeat unless the Sixers are really good.
Yeah, I think he hijacked it. That was Nikola Jokic's MVP last year. I know that nobody want to give it to him because it's 3 in a row and you can't do that, but
Yeah.
he's by far the best player.
Yeah. So I think this might be like the redo where they're like, oh, sorry about last year, we didn't give you the MVP.
if the Celtics pick we had a minute ago, if they finish first in the East above Milwaukee and above Miami and above Philly, and Jason plays well, he could legitimately win it.
Yeah. So.
Drew will help him win it because he's not a name big enough like Jamal Murray or like who did we say a second ago, or like Dame. Will hurt Giannis, but he will take a lot of the stuff off of Jason's plate. I think that's going to be a nice pair.
So who would you pick?
The next question you're asking if I were starting a franchise.
Who would you have said would be the MVP? We both say Nikola Jokic probably.
Yeah, he's the best player. If he plays the way he's supposed to play, like he's
yeah. All right. So if you were starting a franchise today, you could sign any player in the NBA, who would it be?
This is interesting. This is an interesting question because it's like, do I want to win this year? Because if you want to win this year, you could always make an argument that like LeBron is someone.
That's why I thought was weird. He wasn't on here at all because I some people would just have hang one banner and you can have that forever. But some people, Victor Wembanyama's number 2 on here now. He ain't even played yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. If I were really gonna do it, I would take one of those established dudes that's young. I might just to be different pick like a Shea Gilgeous because is he mentioned on here?
Yep, he's on here.
Yeah, he's in the also receiving votes category. Just because Nikola, I don't even know how old Nikola Jokic is, honestly. And he's a bigger guy. I don't think he's going to play for more than 6 more years, 7 more years. Again, I don't know how much he even likes hooping. Giannis is our age, so he's not even 30 yet. I I personally don't think that Luka is the direction that I would go. That's not how I think you win playing that way.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards is awesome, but for some reason, I'd rather have like a Shea over him. I know he's a lot younger.
Yeah.
Is LaMelo Ball on the list?
He's not on the list.
What do you think about the LaMelo Ball deal? Because I know he was hurt last year, and he's just been in a horrible situation since he's been in the league. But
Well,
like
his teammates are just getting in trouble, or
terrible, right?
I don't know, because a couple years
They-
ago I was thinking like, because one of those years they made the play-in, maybe I think last year.
2 years ago, yeah, not the
Yeah,
year that just happened.
yeah. And I'm like, okay, they're on the come up, and then he's hurt, and then all his teammates are getting in trouble. So
Yeah, he would be an interesting person to consider. But if I were just to be different and to be fun, I'd probably pick Shea Gilgeous. What is he? 24?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'd probably take him. He makes people around him better. I think he guards a little, like he's big enough that he can play a little defense if you really needed him to. Like if they were really gonna turn it on, I think he could flip it on the defensive end, and he needs to probably shoot it a little better. But I don't know. Is he a? I guess he probably shoots at an okay clip. He just gets to the rim so often he never has to.
Yeah,
Who would you pick? Would you take like a Nikola or
I think
a
I'd take Nikola
Giannis?
Jokic if I had to pick somebody. Like, I'd rather start and just win immediately than
He does
have to
make
wait for a
everybody
little
around
bit.
him better too. It's
Yeah,
easier to build a team around him than like a Shea.
and I feel
So
like if from a coaching perspective, I feel like it's easier to build around somebody like Jokic than it is Giannis.
mhm.
So,
I agree.
so
Yeah, he's definitely more of a no-brainer pick for sure.
which player forces opposing coaches to make the most adjustments?
This is no contest. It's
I
definitely
think I think that Giannis at three is wild. I think that those are the two that I only ever hear people make adjustments about. Like, you have to figure out how to guard
right.
Steph. You have to figure out how to build a wall against Giannis. I think Nikola Jokic shot up because of last year. I think that's more like the whole team thing. But
Yeah.
like those two,
Well,
I'm like, you really have to figure out how you're going to guard those two, or you're going to lose.
what's challenging about the way Nikola plays is there's really not. I guess in theory, there's really no way to stop Steph, right? Because he kind of always does what he needs to do. You can try a bunch of different stuff and make it hard on him. And I guess that's the thought around Giannis. So you can build the wall if you don't foul him and make him a jump shooter. You're probably better off. But Nikola, there really isn't a. I almost feel like he shouldn't be an answer because there's nothing to do. There's at least things you can try to do to make it hard on him, or you can if you can get the wall built against Giannis. While it's easier said than done. If you can do it, it'll work. Is there a thing you can do against Nikola Jokic? If you had a magic wand, there's nothing to do.
Not this past year for sure.
So I almost feel like you have to give him the LeBron in the finals treatment, where the Warriors were like, just go score 60, and we'll hope that we outscore you. We just won't let you
Yeah,
pass it to anybody.
yeah. So that's the
Yeah, it's Steph Curry, I think.
yeah. I think it's hard to argue against that. Which player is likely to have a breakout season this year? The number one guy is Anthony Edwards on this list. Then
Mhm.
Cade Cunningham, and then a couple of guys from the Magic, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero. I think Tyrese Maxey is probably my pick here, just because
So
if James Harden is gone, he's gonna have the ball a
yeah,
lot more.
what's the definition of a breakout year though? Like Maxey's in a different tier than Franz Wagner, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like I think people already know how good Tyrese Maxey is versus like I don't know how many people know how good Franz Wagner is.
yeah. So I
Same thing with like
guess,
Anthony Edwards. Like, what does a breakout year mean? I think that's probably an objective thing
yeah. So I wonder what they're thinking. Like,
because
I think
yeah,
part of that's
Kyrie
too.
Irving has a vote on here.
Yeah. I think part of that's probably like he played well this summer in the World Cup, but he averaged 25 points a game last year. I think he's going to average 30. I don't know. I don't
Right.
know. Kyrie, I guess, because there's more, just
Is it like he broke
stability
out
over
and then
there.
he's like he has to break out again? So when I hear if you're asking me what my answer would be, when I hear breakout, it's got to be somebody who hasn't put themselves on the regular household map yet. And now, if you're like a non-basketball fan, maybe you don't know who Tyrese Maxey is, but if you watch hoops, you know who Tyrese Maxey is. I bet a lot of people don't know who Franz Wagner is. Paolo Banchero because he was the number one pick, I think, right?
Yeah.
And like Cade Cunningham, I feel like people know, although he hasn't played well yet. Franz is a good person to have on here. Somebody like Mikal Bridges could have a breakout year because he could go from a role player to more of a dude. Zion Williamson is listed on here. Like I feel like he already did that. I know he hasn't done it for a long stretch yet, but we know what
It's
he
like,
can do.
yeah, it's like Kyrie Irving's gonna have a breakout year. That's like, well, he's like a 7-time All-Star. It's like, what are you talking
yeah,
about?
he won a ring. Like I don't. So yeah, Chet Holmgren's interesting. Obviously, he didn't play last year, so does it count as a breakout year? It's his rookie year, essentially, right?
Yeah. So
So that's an objective question. I like Franz. I think he's really good, and he is probably the least known person, at least listed on the top 5 there.
yeah, it's probably good pick there. All right, now we're getting into the positions here. So it's the best player at every position. The weirdest thing, first of all, I'll say about these next 3, point guard, shooting guard, and small forward, is that Luka Doncic got votes for all of them. So that's
Yeah,
just
what
weird.
are we doing?
That's just weird. So best point guard in the NBA. I think it's weird that Damian Lillard got just 1 vote, but Steph Curry got, a big portion here. So I mean,
Yeah,
that's who
and
I would.
he got all the votes last year. He's the best point guard.
Yeah,
I don't know how Damian Lillard only gets 1 vote. Like, weird to me. I guess there's not a Steph's got 63%. I don't know what the quick math is on that, but there's not a lot of votes left to be had after that anyway. And then you factor in that Luka got another 27. There's almost no votes left. So maybe that's why. But I've always been a Dame fan. Give me Dame behind Steph if I'm picking.
Yeah. Shooting guard, Steph got votes on there as well.
Yeah,
Devin
weird.
Booker there, I think that's solid for me.
It's pretty clear cut. Interesting, and maybe are they considering? Okay, so they consider Jason Tatum a 3. I see that also receiving votes, Jason Tatum and Jimmy Butler, but I would call both of those guys 3 men.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson is not listed anywhere on the best shooting guards. Like he didn't get a vote. I don't know if I disagree or agree with that.
Yeah, I don't at this point, and I don't know. I don't have let me pull up his stats from last year just to see kind of what it was like. I mean, 22 points a game. I mean, it's about what you normally expect from Klay Thompson. So, I mean,
it was less flashy, and I think it was less efficient because he had such a slow start, just trying to work himself back in. But also, kind of like what we talked about a second ago, there's not a lot of votes left after Steph Curry. Devin Booker has the same percentage. He got 63% of votes. There's not a lot of votes left. And then the next 2 people are point guards in Steph Curry and Luka Doncic. So it's like Anthony Edwards is the second actual shooting guard on here. Also, Shea got votes. And Jason Tatum and Jimmy. So it's like everybody on here other than 2 people are, in my opinion, not 2 guards. So if you're really going to be strict to the 2 guard rule, top 5, right?
Yeah. And I guess I probably wouldn't argue he's the best shooting guard, so he wouldn't have gotten a vote from me. But if that makes sense why he's not on the list, but he would be top 5. Yeah.
That's true. They're not ranking him. That's who got the most votes. So that's fair. Yeah. Devin Booker's the clear-cut answer there.
Yeah. The next one's interesting. I think it's kind of a little all over the place. Luka Doncic on this list. I don't know what I think I'd probably say Luka's a point guard.
Yeah, he is. Does he have the ball? He dribbles it for 20 seconds of every possession. He's the point guard.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. So I'd put him up there. I'd put him probably the second best point guard. But then Tatum, Durant, LeBron, and Kawhi. I'm like, okay, that sounds about right. Sounds like the top 4 small forwards to me.
3 guards always been hard because there's just so much talent on the wing in the NBA.
I think it's crazy that Jason Tatum got 47% of these votes.
Yeah, that's a pretty hefty margin.
I would have thought that KD might have stolen a couple of those. Oh, hey, what's up, Siri? That like KD would have got a couple votes and then, or more than that, but it's a pretty even spread for as far as these lists have gone so far.
Yeah, KD won it last year, and I think maybe underwhelmed people. Again, I don't know if that's because he was maybe kind of hurt. They had a weird situation in Brooklyn. They couldn't win any games, so maybe that's part of the reason. But Jason Tatum, while I was knocking them earlier that I haven't been able to get over the hump, like his numbers are unreal every year. He's efficient. He just, I don't know, man. It's hard to vote against him, but it's also hard to vote against LeBron, and it's hard to vote against Kawhi. Like the 3 guard spot is a nightmare. Giannis, is he a 3? I guess he's a 4. Giannis is, but
yeah, it's easy to like be like, oh yeah, Jason Tatum's better than LeBron, but they're playing against one another. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
he's pretty close to me.
Yeah, so, exactly.
But yeah, next two are super clear cut. It's who's best power forward, and Giannis got 97% of the vote. And then who's the best center? Jokic got 93% of the vote. I don't know who's the same guy must have been voting for Anthony Davis for center that voted him for potential MVP.
Yeah, gotta
But you
be.
can't vote for yourself, so I wonder who that would have been.
I like Anthony Davis fine, especially when he's healthy, but he ain't better than nobody's better than Nikola Jokic.
No, and then it's weird the MVP from last year got one vote as the best player in his position, so not good. But it's hard to argue against those two. I don't even know who I'd pick as the
Right.
actual second best power forward in the NBA.
Yeah, who even is technically a power forward? It's weird. The positionless game has turned to everybody. You're either a center or you're kind of a wing, and they're still sort of shooting guards. Obviously, point guard's always going to be there, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who I would pick. Lauri Markkanen, I guess maybe. I don't know off the top of my head.
He's pretty salty. Is Boncaro a 4?
Yeah,
He's pretty salty.
could be there. I don't know who else I'd even. Yeah, I don't know who I'd pick.
Draymond Green.
Yeah, he's probably up there for me. Yeah. All right, highest percentage of total votes. It's just basically who was the best at their.
Yeah.
Are these the six best players in the NBA right now?
Giannis, Jokic, Steph, Devin, Luka, and Jason. Who's not on there that you'd like to see? Probably LeBron. It's hard if he's playing. It's hard to not consider him.
Just scrolling up, I don't know. Probably LeBron. Yeah, probably LeBron at 7, maybe. I've seen like the top 100, like ESPN's 100, and LeBron's at like 11 or something. And it's just like that just seems low. You got LeBron on your team, you got a chance.
That's about right, I would say. They have Giannis as first as the best player, or I guess highest percentage of total votes on position requests. So is that because he can vote? He got voted for 2 positions, maybe.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So
that's my. I mean, if I were picking the top 6, it'd probably look pretty similar to that.
Yeah. Let's work our way through the off-season moves, and then we'll move on. I think maybe.
So there's a lot of off-season moves. I guess we're just talking about the big ones. First of all, just really quickly, did you see today that Oklahoma City offloaded some money and some draft picks to, I guess, clear some space? They traded for Kevin Porter Jr. and then they're waiving him obviously because of the
I did not see that.
So apparently Victor Oladipo got moved to Oklahoma City at some point this summer. I didn't know that.
I just saw that too earlier. I was like, did I read that right?
Well,
so
he's in Houston. He's back in Houston now, along with somebody else who I don't remember. And in return, it was Kevin Porter Jr. who got waived. So I guess that's a salary cap move by Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
I would think. But anyway, that's not obviously one of the best moves. I just heard about that one today. Danny Green's back in Philly. I'm trying to think of some small ones that I think are at least important. Danny Green's back in Philadelphia, which I think helps their case a little bit.
I like little ones like Gabe Vincent to the Lakers, and
great move. They've grabbed a lot of new guys.
Christian Wood on there. I think that one's interesting just because he's played for like 12 teams already, and he's like not that old. And then Jackson Hayes, bringing him over. I think those are like some sneaky ones that I like a lot.
They stayed really big. LA did. I like the moves that they made this year more than I've liked LeBron team moves in the past for sure. The Pacers landed Bruce Brown. Obviously, I don't think that like makes them a contender, but it makes them better.
Yeah.
I don't like the Memphis guard additions and Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose. I think there's a lot of redundancy at the point guard position now between the 3 of them, Ja and Marcus and Derrick. Honestly, I know I'm a Golden State. The Chris Paul move is a big one. And they added, like the moves that I think are more interesting though are like Rudy Gay is a big bench. Like their bench couldn't score last year. They've added Rudy Gay. They added Corey Joseph, who's a veteran that shoots it on catch and shoot like 41% for his career. And Dario Saric. Like those are 3 massive additions to go hand in hand with the Chris Paul thing. So I like those moves.
How do you think that Chris Paul is going to play with this team? Is he going to start? What is happening?
I saw a stat the other day. I did not fact check it, so I don't know if I'm right. But it said that he started every game he's ever played in. He's literally never one time come off the bench.
That is correct, according to
It
Basketball
was like
Reference.
1,240 for 1,240
Yeah,
or something.
1,240 for 1,214. Let's see if he's ever come off the bench in the playoffs. Nope, he always started.
So I guess he's probably going to start. But it'll be really interesting. Steve Kerr's so good at figuring out those rotations and how the different combinations of players fit. So somebody's sitting because they're too small to start the game like that. And then they'll have, right, they had the killer five, like the small ball lineup with Iggy in that group. It'll be a version of that, probably a smaller, more sleek sports car version of that with Chris Paul. But I think he'll start. I don't know if it'll be like that all year, but to start the season, it'll be him and Steph and Clay, and I guess Wiggins and Draymond. Looney doesn't mind coming off the bench, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do there.
I'd like to see Clay come off the bench, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you just come up and heat it up.
Yeah, just be like, dude, do what you always do. But
yeah,
I don't know. That'll be interesting to see.
The GM said best overall moves this offseason, and it was the Celtics, the Bucks tied for first. I think it's just whoever gets the biggest name player, because last year they voted for the Cavaliers. So, but I liked all the stuff that the Lakers have done. The Rockets, I don't know. I mean, kinda. They got
Fred Van. They seem like they have a lot of redundancy on their roster at this point. Bunch of little guards that can light it up.
Yeah.
What do you think about Dallas? That's the other one I was going to mention. They added Seth Curry, which I think helps Luka's game. Obviously, having shooters that'll play a little defense around. Seth Curry, I think, is kind of underrated defensively. He's kind of a pest. And then they added Grant Williams, which is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, anything that can. I don't know. It feels like a lot of guards just hearing those names.
I think that Luka Doncic is unbelievable. Let me start there. But I also think he's very similar to like 2017 Houston Rockets James Harden, where it's like I don't really know who to put around him. Like, what are we supposed to do?
I feel like you need, like, with the way they were successful, they hit a bunch of threes, and I'm like, who is the big man on this team that is holding it down in the middle? Because it was Dwight Howard for a second, and then it was Clint Capella for a second. I'm like, who is that? I don't know who the guy would be for them.
Is it Powell?
What's I guess
Dwight Powell.
But like,
I don't know.
Averaged 6 and 4 last year. I feel like you need somebody that's like doing a lot of the dirty work if you're gonna have somebody that's doing, exerting himself that much on offense.
Like a JaVale McGee type. I know his stats would be very good. Like, remember when Tyson Chandler was in Dallas? Somebody like when he was more in the middle kind of part of his career. But I don't know who would you go get though? Imagine you could get anybody you wanted in that seat. Who would you put there? They tried Christian Wood last year. That didn't work.
No, I don't even know who I would.
Would you go get like a Mitchell Robinson from New York?
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. That's almost perfect. Him or Miles Turner.
Miles Turner's, because he'll make shots.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're either of those teams, maybe Miles Turner, but like the Knicks are probably wanting to keep Mitchell Robinson, I would think. So.
Yeah, what would you have to give up to get him? Yeah.
Yeah. So
the Robert Williams kid, did he got sent to the Blazers, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So he would fit probably.
Player to make the biggest impact. I mean, Damian Lillard's going to totally revamp the Milwaukee offense.
Yeah, that's by far the answer. But I like the Drew thing in the second slot in Milwaukee. And then Bradley Beal in Phoenix is almost doesn't matter, but it's just, is it the biggest impact? I don't know. You just added a third bucket. You already had 2 unbelievable scorers. So I guess the splash is a little bit smaller when you think about adding him.
This list is outrageous to me. Like, just reading it now. Like, which player acquisition will make the biggest impact? And some GM was like, Jusuf Nurkic.
Yeah, I like Dylan Brooks in Houston. What?
At least that's like an older guy that was just in the playoffs going to a bad team. But Yusuf Nurkic is obviously the second best guy the Suns acquired.
Yeah, I don't know who would have picked that. He's also never healthy and like I think potentially like kind of overrated. I don't want to knock him here, but like, can you think of a Yusuf highlight ever?
No.
Remember like when LaMarcus Aldridge played for the Blazers and he wasn't really like a household name, but it'd be like, oh my god, this guy's he's got a night where he has 47 and 12. Like, what's
Yeah.
Yusuf Nurkic's best line you can think of?
I don't know. He probably had 20 rebounds in a game, I would think. At some point, just big guy his way into it.
Is it Yusuf Nurkic like the JV version of Jonas Valanciunas?
I don't know. I mean, he averaged 13 and 9 last year. The year before, he averaged 15 and 11. I mean, I don't know. What's he ever
I
done
don't
in the
know that I care
playoffs?
what he averaged though, because like again, I'm sitting here knocking everybody, but like Andre Drummond that 1 year averaged like friggin' 28 and 28. Who cares?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like if you're a big dude for a bad team, you're gonna average a double double.
Yeah. Here's one. Here's a good one for you. Underrated player acquisition.
What do they say? Marcus Smart in Memphis. I don't get that. Grant
Yeah.
Williams. Yeah, it's not gonna hurt him, I guess. I don't agree with Dylan Brooks. I already said I like Bruce Brown. He's on here. Yusuf Nurkic in Phoenix. Max Strus in Cleveland. I forgot that happened.
Yeah.
How does that impact the way they play? You think?
I mean, flamethrower, and plays hard. So, and just on a pretty good team. So, I mean, I think that'll help him a lot. The Gabe
What do you think
Vincent
about?
thing, I think, is
I
so
agree.
underrated because
It's not even on. Oh, it is on here.
LeBron has played with point guards like that his entire career. It's like as soon as I signed him, I'm like, that's perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, he's smart
Like
too, and he defends like, yeah, he's awesome. That's a perfect fit.
I just think of
Um,
LeBron point guards just all time. It's like besides like the Rondos and Kyries and like even like Mo Williams, but it's like Norris Cole, Carlos Arroyo, Mario Chalmers. I was like, that's Gabe Vincent.
it's perfect.
Like,
Also, those guys were all Heat guys, so was Gabe Vincent, or at least two
yeah,
of those three were
yeah.
Heat guys.
So
What do you think about like they have Tyus Jones in Washington? Like, are him and Jordan Poole like are those?
I don't know why that made the list.
Obi Toppin in Indiana.
I
Like, is
think that
that
could
the
be good. I think that could be good. Um, Big guy in there, Duncan.
Nurkic
So
is on here again? How can he be the most impactful and the most underrated? What are we doing?
I mean, I guess like we're gonna see, we're gonna figure it out. Like it's like when Silas
Yeah,
Pachulia went to the Warriors. Everyone was like,
true.
I think people forget how much we're gonna see Yusuf Nurkic. I guess like
Yeah, we'll watch him a bunch now. I guess
yeah.
that's a good example. The Zaza thing. I
So
don't know. Underrated, I would say. I guess the Drew Holiday move isn't underrated. I like the Gabe thing. I still like the Warriors adding like Dario Saric or Rudy Gay. I think those are really
yeah,
big additions. I know Rudy was really like not very good last year, but that was the first year in a long time he hadn't been like a problem.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you get somebody. I mean, how many people have they had that are old that can get buckets? Like somebody that could go in and
All of them
score.
since 2014 that come off the bench.
Yeah,
Most Spates,
just somebody that can come in and get buckets for 5 minutes.
David West,
Yeah,
Sean Livingston. Yeah,
yeah.
that's gonna work.
Most improved team. If I had to, off the top of my head, if I was just naming random people, like random teams, I would have to say the Mavericks probably. They're third
Because
on
their
this
record ended
list.
up being terrible, right?
Yeah, but like would have to think if you have two players that are that good, you're not going to go when they win like 33 games or something last year, 38.
It was bad.
I would
Yeah.
have to think that you would be over 500 if you have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving on your team.
They will be better. Here's another one though. What did the Spurs finish last year?
Yeah, they're not.
Because
If we're
not
just
only
talking total wins, you're probably right.
because not only did they have Wimby, obviously everybody knows that, but like Cam Payne went there,
Yep.
and I can never think of his name. That he looks like young Dennis Rodman. number 10.
Oh, Jeremy Sochan.
Yeah, like dude's awesome. And the kid that played on the Olympics 2 years ago is there, or not 2 years
Yeah,
ago, whatever it was. Like
yeah,
they should win a lot more games this year. When you add Wembanyama, a guy like Cameron Payne, who's really had success kind of everywhere he's went. Cameron Payne's interesting. He
yeah.
was on all the good OKC teams. He was a part of the good Phoenix stuff. I don't know. I like them as the biggest like total record change. I would pick them probably.
Yeah, they have I mean, it helps too. Like saying the Oklahoma City Thunder will be the most improved. It's like, what are we? What are we saying is most improved? Like, do they have a chance to make the second round? Is that what we're saying is most improved, or like
Yeah, or is it number of wins? That's what
number?
the way I
Yeah,
thought
because
because they won a lot
yeah,
of games.
yeah, because they won like 40. I couldn't see them winning like
50.
many more
Yeah,
than
they're not
that.
going to go win.
Maybe. I mean, I'd be cool to watch because they're cool. But
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, I
or
would
like
say if you're
like
talking
someone
about
said. Go ahead.
no.
Well, someone said the Lakers. It's like they made the Western Conference Finals. We like,
Yeah, I don't. I would go off win. They also had to play in, so I would go off of total wins. What do I think is the biggest change? I would say Spurs. I think you make a good point with the Mavericks because they didn't win hardly any games last year because they kind of tanked at the end of the year. Those would be my first two picks.
yeah,
Pelicans if everybody's healthy.
yeah. There's a bunch more after this, but I think we're just gonna stop for
Yeah,
this.
there's
Or
so many.
yeah. So we're at the second little bit here. Most surprising
A
move
lot
of
of
the
rookie
offseason.
questions. Surprising. I think Dame going to Milwaukee. No, that was on nobody's radar. It was Miami or nothing. I thought for a long time.
That was kind of wild. I mean, we knew Dame was gonna get traded. I feel like Chris Paul at Golden State is just so weird. He's like the bad guy.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, and everyone's like, "What?" Not only is he the bad guy, they kind of have been at each other's necks for a while, but the fit question that everybody had right away, like, "What do you mean you went and got another point guard?"
Yeah.
That's a good one too. I see like who's the best defensive player. We could argue that all day. Probably they have perimeter, interior defenders, versatile. Who's the best defensive team? And there's all kinds of coach questions. Who makes the best in-game adjustments? That's a coach question I just scrolled past.
I would have to think like Nick Nurse was always kind of doing changing stuff. I just see.
He's tied for third on this list.
Okay, I just found it. Yeah, so like,
It's hard to
gotta
not
be.
say Eric Spoelstra.
It's hard. Yeah, I mean, he
That's
just.
who got the most votes.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah, I would think it would have to be Eric Spoelstra, somebody that's. He's like Tony La Russa used to be with the Cardinals. You're like, how is he getting so much out of these people? Who are these people?
Yeah, yeah. It's exactly what it's
Yeah.
like. And he does it a lot.
So. All right, I don't see anything else that's piquing me too much. Most fun to watch. Most fun team to watch.
I think the Warriors play the best brand of basketball.
Warriors
the Nuggets
too.
are fun when
Nuggets are
Jokic is
fun.
playing.
I think it's funny. So I live in Colombia, and it's where Michael Porter Jr. is from. And he's like, I love watching the Nuggets, and I'm like, that's my least favorite player to watch. And everyone around me loves it.
Yeah,
But he's like,
He
the ball's
does-
moving,
he-
it's zipping around, then it gets to him, and it's just, it is going up. So,
that
but I
thing
mean, it
is
worked.
up,
So
baby. Yeah, it's his
So.
job.
I can't think of any. Okay, I mean, I see a bunch we could talk about forever, but
We can move on to the next part if you want.
the next one. So, yeah. Let's see if I can share my screen. Am I that good? Alrighty. Episode 2 of Taylor's Advocate already here. We have I guess a couple. So I should have introduced us the first time, but I didn't. I'm Matt Moore. You're Taylor Hassel. I coach college basketball. Taylor used to coach college basketball. So we thought we'd share our opinions, I guess, because we talk about it anyway. So we might as well record it and see if people like it.
Or more importantly, who doesn't like it? That's what I want to see. Who thinks that we're wrong?
I've always wanted to do this. And this summer I finally did it when the 75 list came out. I guess was it this year or last year?
I guess it was technically last year because Clay wasn't back yet. Remember, he was
Yeah,
77.
so it was, yeah. So I always wanted to do rankings of players, and so this past summer I did it. I came up with a formula and ranked like the top 150 something players. And so we're basically going to go through those now. I've broken it up into tiers. I think that was always the best way to do it, is because if you're
Yeah,
once you get to certain levels, and then once it gets bigger and bigger, like you can interchange these players however. So I kind of
right.
broke them up into tiers. And if you're saying that so and so's on the top end of this, I'm like, I mean, that's fine with me. They kind of feel like they can go interchangeably, and I put them in order. So we'll do the
Yeah.
top two today.
Why don't you
Go ahead.
explain your formula? Explain your formula for how you're scoring
Oh
more.
man, so I did a bunch of different. Let me find here. I think it'll probably still record me if I'm off on a different page. But basically, I had a bunch of different things that I was looking for, and I tried to pick a mathematic equation that were things that I valued in like an all-time player. So I did all the normal stuff. I went to Basketball Reference, and it was basically players who had it was on the win shares list, so you had to have a certain amount. So it was the top 250 that were on that list, and then once I whittled those down, it was you had to have like a certain amount of awards, basically. So some people like Trevor Ariza's on this list at the very bottom, but like he couldn't make the list because he's got a
He could make
ring, but
your
that's
list.
yeah, he couldn't make this list because he's got a ring, but that's it. He doesn't have a bunch of other stuff. So like somebody like LeBron, for example, would be able to be on this. I think my cutoff was like 8 like little badges on Basketball Reference. So like LeBron gets that just
Okay.
because he has 19 All Stars. So
Yeah, you're in
um,
automatically. Okay.
so what was my exact formula here? So I basically took that's a bunch of different things, and I'll kind of explain it. You get a point for every all defensive team you make. You get a point for if you won Rookie of the Year or sixth man. If you're most improved, if you made an all rookie team, so maybe you didn't make Rookie of the Year, you can be on the all rookie team. If you every point or every 1,000 points you score over 20,000, I gave you a bonus for that. If you led the league in steals, All Star MVP, and then how many finals appearances you made. So that's the
Okay.
first little bit.
That way takes
Go
the
ahead.
rings out because it's just if you made it right to a finals.
Yeah, just if you made.
Okay.
So like some of these players, and I'll get into it in a second. Like you may have made the finals, but I have a different thing. So like Darren Williams, when he made the finals with the Cavs, wouldn't count the same as one of Bill Russell's because those aren't even.
Or like Charles
Uh,
Barkley.
yeah, that's a good example. I gave you 2 points if you led the league in blocks or assists or rebounds or scoring. So like somebody like Michael Jordan got a bunch on that one. 3 for any defensive player of the years, and then playoff series wins. And then I doubled that if you were the best player on that team. So
Yeah.
if the Cavs won with LeBron, he'd get 6 for that playoff series, and Kyrie would get 3. And then I gave another 3 for finals appearances as the best player if you won the conference finals, if you won the finals MVP, and if you were an all-star. So obviously that's where the points start really racking up. So we start taking people who are like, I'm pretty good, to the people who are really good. Because if I'm listing off finals appearances and playoff series wins as the best player and all-star appearances, those are really going to bump up a lot of those,
Yeah.
players who could be in the middle or towards the top.
Like a Dirk Nowitzki potentially, not to say he's not already towards the top, but you get a lot of points
Yeah,
with your guy like him there.
Yeah, like some of those players who wouldn't have, led the league in blocks or anything like that will get a lot of points for, winning.
Yeah.
And then 4 for any championships you got, and all NBA teams you made. I think all NBA is a little harder to make than an all-star team. And then the big one, I gave 1 point for the Hall of Fame because some of these players that are on this list aren't Hall of Fame eligible. So
Yeah.
like can't be like LeBron loses that on 20 points because he's just still playing.
Right.
And then the big ones here are 5 points for if you made the top 75 team. So 75 of those players got that. 5 points for if you won an MVP. And then 5 point, and I called them rings that count, which is kind of a disrespectful term. So if you're like,
Robert Horry.
Like Robert Horry's, yeah. So like those ones aren't ones that I would be like he gets 35 points for doing that, or like Jason Kidd's ring with the Mavericks shouldn't equal like one of Steph Curry's rings because Steph Curry was the best player on that team and Jason Kidd was facilitating.
So
that
rings
team.
that count a little bit objective, but understand what you mean there, right?
Yeah. So I tried to do the best and like. Obviously, like if you're like a big contributor on that team and you would like put that in your resume, like he won the finals that year and you're arguing about them being on this list, like we would count it. So I did. There's not too many I take off, but
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you get, because you said MVPs are 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if you're the only unanimous MVP of all time? How many points do you get for that?
I didn't give any additional points for that. So there's a couple things I was thinking about adding, and one of them was like if you were like change the game or like the way the game's played. And I feel like there's only like 3 or 4 that I could really give it to without opening it up
and
to
only
like
one
12
that
people.
would have got the unanimous MVP thing, and they're on both those lists.
Yeah. So the change the game list would be like really short. So it'd be like what, like George Mikan and Wilt Chamberlain and probably Michael Jordan, and then
I think
Curry.
Mike changed the way it was played a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's like 4. So it's like, I mean, those players are already up really high. So I don't know how to really switch those up. So I will say this, and then this math adds up that way. I didn't change around any of the top 11. The top 11 are all in that. They all are the top 11 in terms of, I call it the Matt Moore index.
Yeah.
But so so some of these people seem really high, especially if you're older. You'll be like, why is this player so high? Well, they were at worst, if I just put the list in order of this ranking, they're number 11. So, they're at least at number 11.
So you're saying according to the point system that you just explained, you didn't touch the top 11 people. After 11, you made some judgment calls like, well, I think this guy might be 23 versus 25.
No, I did switch. I did switch up the order of the top 11.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
but all of the top 11 are the top 11.
Yeah, some of the other ones I raised people, so like they would be like in the 50s, and I raised them to the 20s. So somebody like that.
Okay.
Just because I think that. So I will say this, with that, just math, LeBron is like by far the greatest player. If I do that kind of math, he's won more playoff series as the best player. So that puts him like way ahead. I don't think he is the greatest. So we'll get to that. I don't think he is at that one spot, but I think that just based on this, I had him like lower on my list than I probably would have before doing this. And I'm like, well, I can't argue against that,
Yeah.
I put all this in and I was like, this sounds about right. And then I added it all up and I was like, well, I mean, higher than I would have thought. So the top 3 players end up being the top 3 players on this list anyway. So
are you able to share your screen so we can look at them or not? It's okay.
Yeah, I'll do that real quick. Let's where are we here? God, I am an old man. Holy cow.
It's a big green button on the bottom that says share screen.
Shut up. I gotta find okay, here we go. Gotcha. It's a big green button that says share. Shut up. So yeah. We are at
You're still frozen on you're frozen on my end. I can't see anything other than your face frozen.
Are we back?
You are. What's up?
I left.
I never left, man. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened either. I'm just gonna have it like this because I'm trying to figure out how to even view it on here. I have a. Oh, here we go. How about view? God, I'm old. I should have done this before.
We can cut this out. This is bad.
This is bad. Everything stopped working. Play slideshow. Okay, here we are. Oh my God. Brutal. I can't see your face for some reason.
Yeah, I can. You're blurry, but
Who knows?
I also don't see your screen if you're trying to share it. It's
Oh, you
fine.
don't?
You can't share it. No.
Oh, it says I'm screen sharing.
You're just
Whatever.
kind of grainy and moving slow now. Freaking Columbia Wi-Fi, dude.
I guess so.
I'm
I don't know.
crispy clear over here on my end.
Yeah, so all right. Well, I
I
can
got
see
like
my
15 minutes, by the way,
okay, we'll go through quick.
just so you know.
Here we are. We're at tier 1. Oh, it's 8:30. Holy cow. We're at tier 1. So the first tier is the top 4 players. The first time I did this list, I had only 3 players in it. For a long time, I had my top 3 as MJ, Magic, and Kareem. I've since moved Magic to the 4 spot and LeBron into the 3 spot. What do we think about those top 4? MJ, Kareem, LeBron, and Magic Johnson.
As much as I think that I can contribute to nuanced conversations about players, I think I probably start at like the late 90s. So if somebody like Kareem is hard for me, I just haven't watched enough of that era. I'm aware of it. I haven't watched nearly as much as you. So I struggle with bigs. Somebody else. I've always sort of felt like somebody like Shaq, right? Most dominant, unbelievable. I would never argue that. The thing is, if Shaq played with like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a point guard who's less than stellar. Like who's an older point guard?
Oh, I don't know.
My thing just said that we started recording. So, like if Shaq would have played with somebody who was just like a less than impressive kind of point guard, like I don't know how that changes things for him. So Kareem and Magic are nice compliments to one another because I think Magic would have made anybody great, but I don't know what his ceiling looks like if instead of Kareem it's Draymond Green, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. If Kareem's playing with somebody who's just a decent point guard instead of an all-time, like maybe the best ever, then how does that change things for him? So that, but where's the line though? Well, am I just never going to rank a big then in a top 10 or a top 20 list? Like it's got to fall somewhere. So I personally, I know he's got the most points and everything. I personally probably wouldn't say if I were picking teams, he wouldn't be one of my top 3 picks. I like Magic there, but I always argue that like there's a conversation about Steph versus Magic, even though he doesn't have all the accolades or whatever. MJ at 1's pretty tough to, obviously that's the age old. Should LeBron be 2 is probably the question that. The first segment went fine with
I know. What the heck?
internet.
Well,
I don't know.
Maybe we'll just let you go and then we'll pick up back on this next time.
Do it a different time. Okay, we will. Just because it's acting
Bummer.
funny. Thanks
I don't
for
know what happened.
setting it
Just
up,
as soon as we started trying to screen share, everything just shut down.
Yeah, it freaked it out. Okay.
Weird.
We'll do it again.
All right. Have fun with that movie.
I had fun chatting with you.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I think so. So I'll see how it sounds later.
Right. All right. Bye.
Yep. See you, man.